All right. So let's go into Solid Edge.
And this training this week is on assemblies, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we're going to be talking about assemblies. What I have in front right here is a product from a customer, Master Mover, and they're all about moving heavy loads. Basically, this looks basically clamps onto something and transfers the weight onto a clamp arm, which transfers the weight onto this axle. Now, what I'm going to be doing is showing you how to bring in that part into this assembly. And then also I want to create a copy of this wheel and caster assembly. I'm going to show you how you can really easily create a copy. And also, I'm going to show you how to check for interference because, when you're working with an assembly, you want to make sure that all the parts are fitting perfectly. There's no interference between any two parts. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then, yeah. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to come here on the left and uncheck some of the parts so we can kind of see what is inside of it and to be able to better see the model. So as you can see, we need to we need to bring in the clamp arm right here that's going to fit right here. Okay, this keeps hanging up. Give me 1 second. Okay. So let me go into this assembly, subassembly. So when you hover over an subassembly and you hold it there for a second, you're gonna see this, see that mouse that hovers right next to the cursor?
Yep.
So you just have to wait a second or two and it comes up. And it basically is for quick pick. Basically, what type of subassembly do you want to go into? I want to go into the subassembly for this one right here. I want to select that. And what I can do is I can do edit in place. So I don't have to, go out of the subassembly. I just want to focus on this subassembly. When I do that, I'm just focused on this. Give it a second or two. And now I'm just focused on this one. Now, if I want to see, what is the subassembly in reference to the entire thing, overall thing, I can press Control, hold Control and Q. And I can see it with reference to the entire assembly. But I don't want to do that, so I just want to focus on this. So again, I press Control Q. And I want to bring in the part that I want to assemble. So you can go here on the left, part library. And I want to bring in the clamp arm. This is what it looks like. You can kind of see a preview right here.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do is either, double click on it or simply just click and drag. And what it does, in Solid Edge, we have this what we call a flash fit. It automatically detects what type of relationship we want to create. For example, I want to take this bottom face and I want to put it right or rest it against this right here. And it automatically detects what type of relationship it has. Now I want to take this cylindrical face and I want it to rest against this. And it automatically does that. Now the last thing that I want to do is I want to select this face. Come on. This face, and I want it to be parallel to that. But so it went the other way. What I can do is I can just click on flip. It automatically flips it.
Nice, yeah.
And just like that, I'm able to create, relationships just like that. Now, so just like that, with just few relationships, I'm able to bring in the part and assemble it. Now, before I go out of this subassembly, I want to show you how we can create. So this part, before I do that, this part I created from scratch, and I brought it into this assembly. So that's what we call a bottom up. You know, we start from the bottom, you know, with just nothing. We created the part from scratch, and then we brought it into the assembly. But now I want to do it the other way around. I want to do it a top-down view where I want to create the part in the assembly without having to go out of it. And I want it to be able to fit it perfectly the first time around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, I'm going to go to my radial menu, you know, hold right click and select create part in place. Again, if you don't know where that is, all you have to do is come here and type and search in the command finder. Any second now.
Yeah, I think it'll come up in a minute.
Should have that Jeopardy music playing right now.
Yeah, maybe there's a hand crank somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to click too many buttons at the same time, otherwise it's gonna take even longer. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So you can see right here, a whole bunch of stuff comes up. So you can see the create part in place is right here, right? So let me go ahead and close. So I just want to create the part in place. And the first thing it's going to ask me to do is place the coordinate system. Where do I want to place the coordinate system? So I'm going to put it in the center of this circle. So all I have to do is go to the edge and it automatically places at the center. And, you know, I want to create a rubber cap for this. So basically it's a bolt with a washer. And I want to create a rubber cap for it because, you know, I don't want it to be just sitting out there. You know, it could create a problem. Someone could hit against that. So I want to make this material silicon. And I'm going to select yes. And it's going to ask me to save. So you can save that. Now you see that everything's gone, right? But remember what I told you? If you press Control Q, you can see the, where you are in reference to the assembly. Okay. Yeah, it was just lagging a little bit. Okay. As you can see. So I'm going to use a cylindrical command if it opens up. Come on. I'm going to use the cylinder command and I'm going to draw right here on the surface Right now, I can't select the surface, so if I hold down the Shift key, I can select the face that I want to create the cylinder on. I want to create it with the center of the coordinate system. Let's make that 34, and we can extrude that. I want to make it 10 millimeters. That should be good enough. And I'm going to go ahead and add a few rounds, just a round to this top edge. Make that 5. 5 should be good. I'm going to go ahead and remove the dimensions in the coordinate system. So right now, as you can see, this is a solid model right here. And basically the bolt and the washer are interfering with the solid model right there. So what I want to do is I want to be able to remove the material that is, interfering with it. But I don't want to go out and, remove the material and then bring it back in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the subtract command. If you come here on home, right here, add body, click on the arrow, drop down arrow, and then subtract. When you select subtract, what is the body that you want to target? You want to target this one. I right click, and I want to select the washer and the bolt, and then select green check mark, and it has removed the material. You can see when I control Q it, you can see the material is automatically removed.
Yep. Would there be a quick way to just select all of the other parts of the assembly? Because in this case, you could do it, or would that make things slow down a lot? So should you always do the selection of the specific parts?
Well, you want to select the parts that are interfering, right? So whichever part is interacting with this, like for example, in this case, this cap, the silicon cap, is in contact with the bolt and the washer, right? If it was bigger and this was interfering with it, you could select that as well.
Yeah, what I'm thinking here is that we made initially some parts invisible, and if you want to play it safe, basically, then you could say take all of the parts and subtract it, and then if it gets a funny bump on the top, for example, you know that, oh, there was some part on the top that I just made invisible. But
well, that's why you have this option. If you press Control key, you can see where you are in reference to the entire assembly. Like for example, if I took that away, you'd just be invisible everything. You don't know where you're placing, right? But that's why it's there, so you can see exactly where you're placing. But I understand what you're saying is that, if you selected the entire assembly, that's what you're saying, right? If you
exactly
selected, it would make it a lot slower, but I don't think it's necessary though.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, it's kind of like real life though, right? You have a washer on your bolt and your other stuff, so you want those stuff to be enclosed inside the washer, and that's like the whole point of that subtracting that he just did. He wants the whole bolt to be closed inside the washer, right?
And the reason why I didn't include all the other parts was because I created the coordinate system with reference to the solid right there. I placed the coordinate system in between, and then created the extrude on top of that. So I know for a fact that it's not interfering with the solid. So let's go back to the overall assembly, and let's go ahead and complete the assembly of the jaw mechanism into the clamp arm. Again, all I have to do is go to Assemble. I can select it from the radio menu, or I can go to the home and select Assemble. So what I want to do is I want to select this hole and place it right here. And it automatically detects the relationship. And then I want to take this top top hole and create a relationship with this. And as you can see, the hose automatically updates to show you that, you know, the model has changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, what you could do is you can go to like a part library online or whatever, download a part and place like a bolt right here. You can measure, you know, using the smart dimension, you can measure how much the diameter is. And then you can bring in a part and then place it as well. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is the caster and the wheel assembly right here. So I'm going to go into this subassembly, right click, and I want to go into this. I want to edit this in place. And I just press Control Q, and then I just want to focus on this one right here. Now, you know how in Microsoft PowerPoint, if you press Control, if you hold down the Control and copy and then move it, you're able to create a copy of it. That's exactly what I'm going to do. When I select all of these, I place the steering wheel on the desired location. Let me make sure it's... And I hold Control, and you see these two little blue squares pop up. That's when you know it will create a copy. And I want to move, and then I just click on the arrow, and it will move the entire. It will create a copy of this, and then we can place it right here. And I want to place it right there, and I want to quickly select this top face, and then click yes, and it automatically creates a copy of this. Now, what I want to do is I want to bring in another part. So you have these bolts on top, right? I don't want this to be, you know, open. I want there to be a cap, you know, for safety purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the part library again. And all I have to do is just click and drag, or I can just double click. Again, few relationships, and I should be able to create. I'm going to select this cylinder. So it's going to be sitting along the cylindrical axis, and I want it to sit on this top surface. And just like that, I was able to create this part. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to take this rubber cap and I want to replicate it across all of these. Right. I mean, I could use a patterning tool, but that might not work because these distances are different from these. So it might not work. So what we can use is the duplicate component, and I select what I want to duplicate. Click the green check mark, and then again, you have to read the prompt bar. You have to saying click on a component for the component to be duplicated from. So I want to select this because I want to duplicate, and I'm going to select this option right here, which is select all matching occurrence. So I want this to happen across all of these occurrences. Just like that, I'm able to create a pattern.
That's nice. Yeah.
Now let me go back to the assembly, and I will show you how we can also drag components in the assembly as well. So I go to the radio menu, and I go to drag component. And all I have to do is just select and hold where I want to drag it from. And you'll notice that the spring automatically updates to show that this part has moved. So you can move it up, down, all around. You can even set, how much it's able to move. You can predefine the distance, how much it's able to move. You can even also put a motor to simulate that motion. So let me go ahead and reset this so we can go back to the overall assembly. Now the last thing that I want to show you in this assembly is checking for interference. Now everything is good, but if there's interference, what's the point of, you don't want to have any sort of interference because then the assembly can't function. So I want to be able to go into this subassembly. And I'm going to edit in place. Now, notice that I'm making changes to all these parts in the assembly. I don't have to go out, make changes, and then bring it back into the assembly. And that's a really important tool in Solid Edge, because you should be able to make those changes in the assembly, because, otherwise it's such a hassle. So right here, we have this jaw mechanism, right? And this bar is going to be moving back and forth. But, based on this view, I think there's going to be a little bit of interference with this part. So, but I want to make sure, so what I can do is, again, I can drag by selecting the drag component, and I can move it. And this, again, notice the springs automatically update. Now I want to check for interference, right? Well, what if I don't know where that interference is? I can again come to this command finder, type in interference, and it'll automatically tell us where it's located. Okay, so it's located in inspect and check interference. I can just click right here and select which part I want to check for interference. And I want it to process. And it shows me that, yes, I was right, that there is a little bit of interference right here. So I'm going to have to move this back and make changes to this corner right here. I want to make this corner a little bit smaller so that there is no interference. So I'm going to drag this bar back. Okay, let me go back to this subassembly. I don't know why it kicked me out. Yeah, I don't know. Just today it's just lagging a lot, as you can see. So let me drag this back. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to look at it from the side view, right? I want to take this and I'm going to go to face select. I'm just gonna then select what I want to edit. So essentially I want to edit this corner. And so, without even having to take this out, I can modify it. I want this to be a little bit down. So I want it to translate kind of along this axis. So just press the bottom arrow, and it should start shifting it down. And 5 millimeters should be enough.
Just to add importance to what he did just now is that if you are in a history-based program, you have to go measure the distance and then go to the part itself and stuff like that. But he's doing all those adjustments in the assembly level itself.
And now, as you can see, I was able to move the corners down without having to go out of the part. Just like that.
Yeah.
Now I can drag the component and see if there's any interferences. And, you can clearly see there's no interference.
Yep.
So that's how you can check for interference. Let me go out of this assembly. Now, that is it from my part, but now Ollie's going to be showing you how to edit multiple parts in the assembly at the same time in a pulley system. Ollie, if you want to take over the screen.
All right, let me know when you guys see this.
Good to go.
Okay. So you guys saw what he did in assembly level. He modified the part in the assembly level itself without going back to the part, which you have to do in history-based modeling. But so the synchronous technology, you don't have to really do that anymore. You can modify parts in an assembly level itself. Not only one part, you can modify multiple parts at the same time. So here I have this pulley. Let's go ahead and make this pulley 20 millimeters wider and see how we can adjust our assemblies to account for that. As you guys can see, and Mohammed mentioned Control Q to hide all the components. And as you can see from the Pathfinder, this pulley was made in history-based modeling or order modeling. So whoever made this did it in history-based. So to modify this pulley in history-based, we have to go find the right command to modify. In this case, it's the very first command on our history tree. So how scary is that, guys? First command on a history tree in history base.
Yeah, that's no fun.
That's very scary, right? Like things gonna explode most likely. Your features are gonna disappear. Let's see. If I do this here, the whole middle part disappeared. So I can either go figure that out or fix it, or just go ahead and move everything to synchronous, because I don't really want to go find out how to bring the middle part back. What I can do here, move everything to synchronous. And now we're in synchronous. We can grab multiple faces that we want to move. Let's grab this, not that one. Let's grab this one. And let's just grab this little face from the back. Now here, I can just click on the arrow and move everything at the same time, as you guys can see. It's even moving it symmetric, so let me go just do 10. And you can see my pulley got wider 20 millimeters because my design intent panel that we talked about recognized that it was, I made this pulley symmetric with respect to the coordinates, so it was moving it on both sides. So I just really did 10 millimeters because it moved 10 millimeters on the other side. Now my pulley is 20 millimeters wider here. Let's go back to the assembly. See what's going on here.
Yeah.
And the big problem here now, everything's like interfering, as you guys can see. So I told you guys in history-based modeling, you have to make a sheet. Hey, this sheet metal needs to change. This sheet metal needs to change. This part needs to change. That part needs to change. Honestly, good luck with that, guys. I don't want to be in that situation. That's just like my afternoon gone. But let me show you guys how you can easily move all these parts at the same time in synchronous. So here, from the select, we can go from part priority to face priority. And once we go to first priority, we can select the faces that we want to move within the assembly itself. Here, let me grab this face. I want to move that one. Since these two cutouts are symmetric and coplanar, I'm just going to select one. And let's select that too. And then I can just do this. Press on the arrow again. And just move everything, right? Do 10 again. You guys see I just moved basically multiple parts at the same time.
Yep.
This sheet metal, that sheet metal, and you bring the pulley in, there is no interference anymore. Not only that, you can also use the 3D face relay commands that we talked about in one of the previous tutorials. You can use those in assembly level as well. Let's say I want to make these sheet metal coplanar with that sheet metal. All I have to do is just select the coplanar command. So select one, and then select the other. Now my both sheet metals are the same. So you can also use those commands at the same time in assembly as well, or move multiple parts at the same time. And that's very, very powerful, because in history base, as you guys would know, you would have to go back, modify each part by itself. In Solid Edge, with the help of synchronous technology, you don't need to even go out of the assembly itself. You can make multiple edits at the same time in the assembly level itself. And that was it for my presentation.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.